Hi, my name is Beatriz de Oliveira Segaro. Um, the topic that I wanted to bring up and find an article and an experiment about was the topic of epigenetics. We talked about this in class, and it just really caught my attention, and I just kept doing research on it, and I just really like this topic. I just think it's fascinating to me. The article I chose is called New Study Shows Effects on Offspring of Epigenetics Inheritance via Sperm. It was written by Tim Stevens, and it was published on March 20 of 2019, so it's a pretty recent study and experiment. It was published by the University of California, Santa Cruz. Just to give a little background information on epigenetics, the definition of epigenetics is as an organism grows in response to its environment, genes in its cells are constantly turning on and off with different patterns of genes expressions in different cells. What that means pretty much is that how you react to certain situations, to certain experiences you go through or through your environment, that causes certain genes to turn on or off. And how it can affect your offspring, how your behavior and your reactions to certain things could transcript to your offspring and how it affects your kids. For example, if your parents go through under like stress and they're always like with going through anxiety and stuff like that, and they don't know how to deal with that well, how that affects you, even though it's their own experiences that they go through, how it can affect you, and how because of certain genes turning on and off through your offspring could also get the same effect, like not knowing how to deal with anxiety and depression and stuff like that. When we talked about epigenetics in class, we talked about the Holocaust and how the kids of people who went through the Holocaust were extremely anxious and had depression and stress, even though they lived a like happy life, like with no worries. And why was that? It's because their parents went through such a bad stress through the Holocaust and stuff like that. In this experiment, they decided to work with worms. The research, like, they just thought it was a good way to work with worms because the histone packaging in the worms are completely, like, it's fully on the sperm, while in other mammals or like humans it's not, it's like spread it out around other stuff. The question that they were trying to answer in this experiment was, does inheriting sperm chromosomes with altered histone packaging of the DNA affect gene expression in the offspring? The question is pretty much asking, like, how can the histone packaging affect your offspring? Histone packaging is a protein that provides structural support to a chromosome. It pretty much like holds the chromosomes together. It's a protein that holds the chromosomes together, and that protein could either be on or off. It could either be there or not. And through epigenetics, that's what we're trying to like figure out. And in this study, that's what they're trying to see. Epigenetics doesn't affect your DNA or your gene sequence or anything. It just affects like the environment that you're on, the situations you go through. It just affects which genes are going to be on at what time and which genes are going to be off at certain times. The nematode worm, which is the worm that they decided to work with, is a good model for studying this question because, like I said before, the histone packaging is fully retained in the worm's sperm chromosome. In humans, or other mammals, is only partially retained in the sperm, and for this experiment. It was just best so they could see fully the effect of epigenetics on the offspring of these worms. They decided to use 2 different strains of sperm and eggs, just because they wanted to pretty much not control, but like pretty much be able to identify which genes were on and off in each pair of worms. The dads were British and the moms were Hawaiian, and they just wanted to see, because with this hybrid system, they were able to see the difference in gene expression that were a direct result of the changes in histone marks of the sperm's chromosomes. They pretty much wanted to see like how the mom could affect the offspring if she was from one place, and the situations and the environment that the mom was in, and the environment that the dad was in, which was completely different, and how could that affect the offspring. In my opinion, epigenetics is just a very recent topic. There isn't a lot of information on it or studies on it yet, and a good question that I even asked Professor Morgan in class was like, we know that epigenetics has an effect when it comes to like anxiety and depression and all, like some of these negative stuffs. But what about stuff that's like good? What if your parents are extremely happy kids who just go through like happy situations? Obviously, nobody has forever happy life. Everybody goes through struggles and everything. But like, could epigenetics influence the kids' lives in a positive way? And I thought this experiment was really good, so they could see like what turns on and off based on what situations and what environment the parents were in. Thank you.